great news is, you're not doing maths. Yay!
Meeting Caitlin, take 1. Take 4.
Meeting me, take 8. Well, it's lovely to see you all. Thank you for coming. I've told them they can't give you extra maths later as well. You've literally got out of it. That's going to be fine. And we've got World Book Day coming up. I thought we'd talk about that first because, you know, the things that I like to do are talking about how you change the world. And there's loads of ways to do that, but one of the best ways to do that is through books, because it's a great way of getting ideas out there. And you must have had books that you've read that have made you think about things differently, kind of think, oh, I could be like that, or that's a place I'd like to go, or that's something I'd like to do. So I was going to ask you all what your favourite books are. Has anyone got? Cool, yes, you're fast.
Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Cool, and why is that your favourite Harry Potter book?
Because I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. But is it because it's exciting, or does it make you feel safe, or does it make you imagine things?
It makes me imagine things.
Yeah, those books are great for that, aren't they? Cool. Anyone else? That's a good one. Anyone else? You.
Mine is the Maze Runner series,
Yeah.
and I like it because it's really adventurous and it's really well written.
That's interesting because that's been made into a film, hasn't it? Do you like to read the book before you go and see the film so you can imagine it yourself? Or do you watch the film first and then read the book?
I've seen the film before I've read the book.
Yeah. And so does that mean you're imagining those actors being those characters when you're reading the book, or do you imagine different ones?
I imagine like the actors.
Yeah, cool. That's handy, isn't it? Because you know who they are. Cool. Anyone else? Over here? Yeah.
My favourite is Diary of the Wimpy Kid series.
Yeah, classics, yeah. And why is that?
It's just that, like, maybe when I'm feeling down, I like to read it because it kind of makes me cheerful.
They are really... Who's your favourite character in it?
Greg.
Yeah. And why? Why?
I don't know, he's just a normal kid, but people underrate him.
Have you ever laughed at one of those books so loudly that people stared at you? Because I've laughed at books so loudly people were staring at me going, you are mad. Like if you're reading on a bus or on a train and people are like, why are you laughing? You look like a crazy lady. Happy to do. Yeah. I also once did, you're probably not supposed to say words like this in school, but I did also once laugh so much at a book that I did a fart on a bus and people heard it. That was quite a shameful day. If anybody else wants to admit that they've done that as well, I think this is a sharing group and you could all put your hands up. No, no one's going to do that. That's fair enough. Actually, you look like you were about to. Any other favourite books? Who else has got a favourite book? Oh, over here, you.
War Horse. It's my favourite book because it makes me wonder of how life was like back in World War I and the conditions they had to live in, and it's a very sad book.
Did you cry when you read it?
No, but I nearly did.
Oh. Has anyone got books that have made them cry? Has anyone got any crying books? So you've got a book that's made you cry? What was that?
I cry nearly in all books.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. What's the most crying you've ever done?
I can't remember.
I once saw a film, there's a film called Awakenings, which is very sad about some people who get an illness that means that they freeze. And it's such a sad film that I cried so much that I had to lie upside down on the stairs to get the blood back into my head because I cried myself so that I was faint and I just had to lie upside down on the stairs in order to not faint. And that's the most amount of crying you can do. That is scientifically proven. We've got one more favourite book. Yeah.
My favourite book is Wonder because Wonder is really sad, but it's like what life was then, but it's happening now because like the boy he's disabled, but they all like hate him. But towards the end, he becomes like popular. But he's very nice, and it happens in real life.
Yeah. And do you think, I mean, because the people are talking about different experiences that they've read in books and stuff, like, sort of one of the things that I love most about books is it allows you to imagine what it's like to be someone else.
Yeah.
Like kind of, and there's also a brilliant thing that books do, like kind of, when you watch a film, you're learning about other people and you're seeing different worlds and that's great, but you're seeing actors there and people have actually made the sets, you know, on films, they've kind of, you know, they've made the houses and they've made the streets. Whereas when you're reading a book and you read, for instance, the word dragon, you've got to imagine your own dragon If there was a dragon in a film, everyone's seeing the same dragon, and it's one a dragon expert has made. But when you're reading a book and you see the word dragon, no one else will have imagined a dragon exactly like the one you're reading in a book. Because what you do when you're a reader is that you're working with the writer. The writer's doing half the work. They've written all these words on the page. But when you're reading it, you do the other half of the work. You're the one imagining it in your head. And that's the most magic thing about books. You get to do half the work. You are in partnership with the reader, with the writer. That's my clever point that I have about books. That's the cleverest thing I'm going to say all day. No, which is unfortunate because you're going to start asking me questions now about like politics and how we can change the world. And unfortunately, I have very little brain today. So you're probably going to have to help me and tell me your ideas for how you would change the world. Because the key thing is, you're the guys that are going to be in charge of the world in like 20 years' time. It's your world. People as old as me are just looking after it for you at the moment. But, you know, everything that we make a mess of, you've got to sort out later. So I'm really sorry about that. Sorry, guys.
So, has anyone got a question for Caitlin that they would like to ask her? And it can be about anything.
Or talking about things that you find unfair, or here, we'll start here. You were straight away. You've got ideas. Go on. Oh.
What's your favourite ice cream flavour?
Ice cream flavour, that is very important. Well, it is. I live on ice cream. I once had, well, because previously you kind of think, okay, you know, my world of ice cream was that it would be sweet ones like chocolate or strawberry or rum and raisins, a particular favourite of mine because it's like a little drink as well as a pudding. But then I recently discovered bread and butter pudding, brown bread and butter pudding that's savoury. Brown bread ice cream, which is savoury. So now it's like I can have it for my first course, like a dinner, and then have ice cream afterwards for pudding. So I can have ice cream twice. I can have an ice cream proper meal of brown bread and then an ice cream pudding. So that is my favourite one. It's brown bread ice cream because it's allowed me to expand the amount of ice cream in my life. But what's your favourite flavour?
It's either lemon, strawberry or vanilla.
Lemon, that's very rare. And is that lemon ice cream or lemon sorbet?
Lemon ice cream.
You are a woman of rare tastes. Not many people say that. That's good. Bit of an ice cream expert there, I see. Okay, there.
What is your favourite colour?
Colour. Well, I like to be greedy and have the colour. Because if you say brown, it sounds quite boring. But brown is all the colours mixed together. So, you know, you can do that. Have you done that thing where you like put some paint on a paper and you drop different chemicals on it and it all separates back out again? So I would say brown because when you choose brown, you get all the colours mixed in together. In the same way that my favourite book is probably the dictionary. So if you think about it, the dictionary's got all the words in. So the dictionary's like all the books. You just have to juggle up the words to make a new book. So the dictionary's always been my favourite book. And it's a really good thing to like every day you just open the dictionary and learn a new word and show off. And I would usually use it in slightly the wrong way. Also, I would never know how to pronounce things properly. For years, when I learnt the word idiot, I would read Enid Blyton books and they would always call each other idiots. But I read really fast and I thought that she was calling people idots. So I would just go to my brothers and sisters, "Oh, you're such a massive idot!" And ironically, I was the idot because I had just not read that word correctly. We've got another question. Who's got?
What was your favourite book growing up as a child?
Growing up as a child, I loved. Has anyone read a book or seen the film of The Railway Children?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you done that for school or like kind of? You've all just read it anyway. Very impressive. Yes. No, I love that. I love that book because it's about they're a family that used to be quite rich. And then something bad happens to their dad and they have to move somewhere, they sort of lose all their money and suddenly their mum has to look after them and she's got to try and earn money however she can. And in that book, she decides to be a writer. She becomes a writer because that's the only way she knows to earn money. And that was, came from a really poor family. And when we became even poorer, and I suddenly thought, when I was 13, I was like, I need to start earning money for my family. And that was how I had the idea to be a writer because that was what I'd seen you'd done in a book. That's why I like books that are useful. You know, it's still a brilliant story and it's really funny. You know, I love all the characters in that and they describe the scenery and you can imagine the trains and how exciting they are. But there's also useful things in that book. You know, that was the one that told me, you know, if you can't do anything else, you could be a writer.
What is your favourite sport?
Favourite sport? Well, I'm not very good at running. I've got very weak ankles and very weak knees, so nothing high and bad. I like swimming, but my favourite sport to do is archery. I don't know if anybody's ever done it. Yeah. Where have you done it?
I've done it at Stagecraft and I've done a camp with archery for a week.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Why did you like it?
I liked it because it's really fun and you can also, and it's really good for like your aim and your eyesight because you have to kind of focus on where you're going to hit it as well.
It feels really satisfying as well, doesn't it? Kind of like, just that, and then when you let it go and just that thunk when it hits the board. That's so nice. How many people have done archery here?
I've done it 4 times.
Really? Have you ever hit the bullseye? No. It's really hard though, isn't it? Like if you think about it, you've got to try and hit something that big with like a pointy stick from like that far away. And is the reason that you were into archery, was that because of the Hunger Games? Was that the first place you'd seen it? Yeah. I think everybody, when they saw that, were like, that just looks so cool. My ultimate aim for when I'm a grown-up, which I'm still not yet, I don't think, is that I want to be able to do archery with an owl perched on my shoulder. That would be so boss. Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And the owl could go and like send messages to people while you were doing archery. That'd be awesome. Has anyone got another question? Hello, beautiful.
What's your favourite book that you ever wrote?
That I've ever written?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Well, I wrote my first book when I was 13, which seems like a kind of weird thing to do, but I didn't go to school. That's why it's weird for me to be here today. I don't really understand what's going on here at all. You'll have to tell me later how schools work, because I don't know. So I never went to school. I never had any lessons. We just got to do what we wanted all the time. And for a bit, that's fun, because we just watched TV and invented a lot of snacks, including a brilliant snack which was called the Cheese Lollipop, which was a piece of cheese as big as your fist stuck on a fork, and you can just eat it while you're watching TV, the Cheese Lollipop. Yeah. We also invented the cheese on cheese sandwich, which instead of having bread, you have a slice of cheese, and then you put a slice of cheese in the middle, and then another slice of cheese on top. The cheese on cheese sandwich. Yeah. So that was mainly what we did instead of going to school. We ate a lot of cheese. And so that bit was good for a bit, but then after a while you get really bored. You sort of like, I've just got nothing to do, and we didn't really have any friends and stuff. So that was when I started writing a book when I was 13, just for something to do and to earn some money. So I think even though I've written books that, that book didn't really sell that much, but even though I've written books that have been bigger since then, I think that was my favourite one, because that was the bit where I was like, oh, I can write, this is fun, this is nice.
Do you enjoy writing?
I do. It's who here likes writing? Does anyone enjoy writing? Oh, I've got lots of writers. Would any of you like to write books or for newspapers? Get your hands up if you would, if you'd like it to be your job. Oh, we've still got a couple as well, yeah. Well, it's lots of writers, I think a lot of the writers, because I know lots of writers, lots of them are my friends, and a lot of the reason why a lot of writers seem to become writers is so they can moan about writing all the time. Like, a lot of writers are very moany. They just go, oh, I can't get any ideas, and I've got to sit down and do hard work. They really love making a fuss about writing. And I'm not like that. I really love writing. I like sitting down on a chair. And I've got lots of ideas as well, so I never run out. So I really enjoy doing it. The key thing for being a writer, though, is to make sure you do have a comfortable chair. Because lots of people go on about how it makes you, your head's hurting because you're thinking so much. That never happens, not for me anyway. But what does happen is after a while your bum does hurt because you've spent so long sitting on a chair. It's a very sitting-based job. You got another one? Yeah, I like this. A follow-up question. This is pro. Have you thought about being an interviewer, maybe, or like a newsreader? Because that's you have one question, then you have a follow-up question. That's a good professional technique. And maybe think about it for later. You could do that.
How many books have you published?
Oh god, I should know this answer straight away. Hang on. Chronicles of Narnia, How to Be a Woman, How to Build a Girl, Moranthology, Moranifesto. Yeah, that's only 5, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. That was really embarrassing. Now I'm starting to think that maybe we should be in that maths class, and that, actually you don't need to be in that maths class, but I do. I literally can't count. No, I've written 5, and the key thing you learn is to just sit down and write every day. When I was little, I thought that books would magically come in your head. Well, I had two things that I thought were wrong. First of all, I thought, because I'm a really fast reader, hence misreading idiot as I dot. I read too fast. But I can read a book in a day, and I would read a book every day. And I thought that if you could read a book in a day, then you could write a book in a day. So imagine my surprise when I sat down to start writing my first book and realised by the end of the day that I'd only actually written 5 pages. And it was going to take more than a day to write a book. So that's the first thing you learn about it. And the second thing is that you just think that the idea will come in your head, and like it's like someone's telling you the story, and you just have to copy it down, and that it's magic, and it's not that. It's just it's hard work. If you just sit down on the chair every day and go, I'm going to do some work, then that's how the book comes to you. If you sort of, I know loads of people who go, oh, I want to write a book someday, but they never sit down and write. You've just got to sit down and write if you want to write a book. Which is why, again, it's very important to have a comfortable chair. Well, I'd like to ask you guys a question. Who here has heard of the word feminism? Okay, hands up, cool. And who thinks they know what it means? Get your hand up. Yeah, don't be scared to say it, because there's no wrong answers, you know. It's okay, so we've got 2, 3 people who think they know what it is. Okay, I'm going to ask you all for what you think it is, like kind of, and don't be embarrassed or shy or anything. It's interesting to know. So we'll ask here what you can, yeah.
Does it mean that about like females?
That's right, yes. Cool, yeah, it's about women, that's cool, yeah. Okay, and then we'll come over here. Who else thought they knew what it meant? Cool, yeah, you? I'm going to make you answer it as well. But you first, go on, darling.
Does it mean when people discriminate females?
You're definitely in the right area, yeah, cool. This is it, yes. 10 points for you, and then do you want to
Is it, so for racism, it's discrimination against a different race of skin colour, but is feminism technically discriminating women and leaving them out and males thinking they're more important than women?
You've totally, this is, what you've all described is the thing that, what you've all described is sexism. You've described the problem. So this is brilliant that you know these things. You've described how some people think that women aren't equal to boys. And feminism is the thing that goes around telling people girls are equal to boys. That's what feminism is. Feminism is the idea that we need to talk about everyone being equal. And, you know, if you're a feminist, you believe that the things that you do are to make sure that happens. Like there are laws that make men be paid more than women in different parts of the world. There are laws in the world that mean girls don't get an education and boys do. There are laws that mean it's more unsafe to be a girl than it is to be a boy. And if you're a feminist and you do feminist things, then it's your job to go out there and change those laws and make sure that we're all equal. And it's interesting, like, well done everybody who answered that. That's brilliant, because like for a long time, so people didn't talk about feminism, and a lot of people didn't know what it was, and it's a really important thing. And the thing is, when you describe, and also you get a lot of people as well who think they've got the wrong idea of what feminism is. They think it's really angry women who hate men. And it's just not. Kind of like a lot of people have got this sort of idea that it means that you hate boys or you think girls are better than boys, and that's not being a feminist. But being a feminist is believing that girls and boys are equal. And the thing is, once you describe it to anyone, they go, well, yeah, that seems fair. Everyone should be equal. That's you know, I think particularly when you're a kid, you've got a real sense of fairness. You know, you think we are all born equal. Like, it shouldn't matter about the colour of your skin or who you love, you know, or what your gender is, that we are all born equal. And then it's just as people grow up, they start getting these weird ideas. So, yeah, so it's about fairness. Well done, everybody who answered.
Who was your inspiration?
Oh, well, in a way, my inspiration was my mum and dad, because they treated the boys and the girls in our family unequally. I'm the oldest of 8 brothers and sisters, and all the girls, yeah, I know. We had lots of arguments, and we had to share lots of beds together, so it was lots of like, I don't know what have you got brothers and sisters?
I got a sister.
Yeah. Do you do that thing where you kind of sometimes lie on her and go like this a bit? Well, you're obviously nicer than me then. We spent all our time lying on top of each other and poking each other, and we all thought we were equal, but our parents would give different jobs around the house to girls and boys. The girls would have to do all the cooking and cleaning, and they would have to look after the little babies, and the boys just had one job, which was emptying the bins, which was like an easy job because you just pick up the bin and empty it. It's like, it doesn't take as long as like cooking a meal. And that was because they believed there were girls' jobs and boy jobs, which was silly because, like, you know, my brother grew up to be a much better cook than me, but because he was a boy, my parents didn't think they had to teach him. So that was the point where I was like, well, this isn't fair. Hang on, the girls are having to do more jobs and more boring jobs, and my brother just gets to empty the bins. I have an angry feeling inside me about this. What is that? And that was when I went out and learnt about sexism, not treating men and women equally, and then feminism. So my biggest inspiration was my parents being wrong.
Did you to write your books about the politics? Did you have to go and look around and see what politics do?
You see, that's what I should have done. That's a really good question. Normally, if you're like a proper journalist, that's what you would go out there and do. You would go and like examine things that were happening. But the thing that I wanted to write about politics is how we write about it in newspapers. Like, kind of, who is it that gets to talk about these interesting things? Because, like, I'm a girl, and there aren't many women who work for newspapers that write about politics still. It's still mainly a thing that men do. And also, in newspapers, it's very noticeable that it's mainly white men as well. Kind of, you don't get people of colour writing about these things, you don't get girls writing about these things. You know, if you're gay, you tend not to be writing about these things. And again, that's all about fairness. You're like, everybody needs to be able to talk about these important things. It shouldn't just be for one small amount of, usually quite posh men as well, who've all been to the same school and all know each other. And so again, you're just like, well, that's not fair, that's not right. They don't understand about everybody's lives, you know. I come from a very poor part of the country, and we were really poor when we grew up. My parents didn't have jobs, we were all on benefits. And no one that I saw talking about politics really knows about that. Or they kind of go, it's wrong to be on benefits, we're going to take your benefits away from you. So you want to be fair and write about those things. Thank you.
What's the most thing you like about writing?
What's the thing I like most about writing? That's a really good question. I think maybe, this doesn't make me sound very good, but I think maybe because I came from such a big family and I had so many brothers and sisters who would argue with me. Like, if you would say something, they would immediately argue back and go no, and then jump on you and kind of like poke you and stuff. So I think it's that when you're writing, no one can argue with you. You get to win. So it's kind of like everything I write, I'm like, ha 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 ha, no one can argue with me. This is my page. I wanted to ask you guys a question. I wanted to ask what you think is the most important thing in the world at the moment. Like, when you kind of, I don't know if any of you do any of you watch the news? Yeah, a couple of you, yeah. You sort of generally got an idea of what's going on in the world, kind of like, what are the things that worry you the most? Because, like, if there's actually, I'm not going to say anything, so I want to see what you say. So, here first.
About the wars that are happening in, like, Syria and how they're trying to fight their way into England.
Yes, cool, that's a good one. It's the refugee crisis, yeah. And do you know, and you've all heard of, like, what's happening with the refugees at the moment? That's a really big problem. That's like 50 to 60 million people have had to leave their countries. There's like a whole country of people wandering around in Europe at the moment who don't have anywhere to go, and that's a really big problem. And no one so far has really come up with a solution to that. So this is why I started writing about politics, because you just think the politicians, like the grown-ups, are going to be, you know, there'll be people sitting in offices and they'll have worked out what to do. That if there were 60 million people who were walking around, who didn't have anywhere to go, and who were sleeping in tents, and their children didn't get to go to schools, that people would go, yeah, we've got a plan for that, we're going to sort that out. And there isn't. Everyone's still arguing about what to do. This is kind of, and that's the point where you start going, hang on, I can't wait for grown-ups and politicians to do these things. I need to start coming up with ideas. We need to start coming up with ideas. And the earlier you realise that, the better. You know, it took me a very long time. I just thought, yeah, the politicians, they know what to do. You know, prime ministers will be sorting these things out. And then you get to my age where you've met prime ministers. You know, I've talked to these people. I've been to 10 Downing Street. I've interviewed prime ministers. Like, I know people who work for the government. And you realise, you know, they're just normal people going, no, we don't know what to do either. So they need our help, really. And that's why I wrote this book, just to help them out.
Lately, they've been arguing about if the UK should stay in the EU or out of the EU. What's your opinion on this?
Brilliant. You are incisive. This is good. Well, this is a question I want to ask all you guys. Okay, who understands this whole being in Europe, being out of Europe thing? Put your hands up. If you understand what's going on. Cool, so that's, yeah, not many. I've got to say, my hand isn't going up. I don't really understand it. And who thinks they know what we should do, whether we should go in or stay out? Cool, okay. Keep your hand up if you think we should stay in Europe. And put your, cool, oh cool, this is good, yeah, I'll put your hands up if you think we should stay in Europe. Okay, and then put your hands up if you think we should leave Europe. See, that's a good plan. You could be saying to, you know, if there were politicians who were saying the whole idea is that we leave Europe, but we could become part of America, suddenly this whole thing would be interesting, and those more people would be interested in it. But this is a huge thing. Europe. This is going to affect your futures, kind of like, you know, whether we stay in Europe or not. But like, do you feel that people explain it to you well enough, kind of what's going on? I mean, is there anything, like when you watch it on the news, do you kind of understand what they're saying? You do, yeah. David Dumbleby over here is like, yeah, I understand all that. So this gives me great hope for the future. You're going to make a better job of this planet than my generation did, so thanks. You're going to bail us out.
What I'm worried about isn't as much as the news. I'm worried about the animals becoming extinct.
Yeah.
Is that some humans here are really greedy, and like there's been loads of arguing about, for example, like zoos and like if we should stop or we should continue for the human resources, and it's really worrying me since there's a lot of people I know that likes animals, and they really don't want them to be extinct.
Yeah. No, that's a huge thing, like kind of, and lots of people talk about whether it's right or wrong that humans should do things with animals. Like, is it right that we eat them? Like, at the beginning, that gave us a huge advantage, you know, when we were kind of, you know, in competition with the Neanderthals and all the other kinds of humans. Like, you know, anyone who could catch and eat an animal, it's the most amount of calories you can eat. So it means you grow stronger, you evolve quicker, you become stronger. But now, theoretically, we don't need to eat meat anymore. You know, we can get those calories from somewhere else. We've invented corn, you know, kind of we can grow enough crops to eat things. So these are really interesting conversations because people who, I eat meat, but like kind of these are the big conversations that are going on at the moment, that's what's the main reason that we're cutting down the rainforest is because we need to provide space for all the cows to make all the burgers for the Americans. And it's like, okay, which do we want best? Well, you know, this is literally these are the decisions that you will have to make in the future, basically, rainforest or burgers. That's quite a tough choice because, you know, I don't personally use the rainforest, like kind of, you know, but, you know, I like burgers, but these are the choices that we're going to make in the future. This is like, and again, that's what politics is, rainforest or burgers.
It doesn't worry me as much as like the refugee, because that's a huge thing. But one of the things that they had like a few months ago, because I'm Greek, about the Greece thing that they owe like billions of money.
Yeah, no, my husband's Greek, so my children are Greek, and we spend a lot of time in Greece. And it's very interesting there, like, Greece is a very political country now, because Greece has got a lot of problems. Basically, Greece lost a lot of money when there was the big banking crash, and then, so it was already in quite a lot of trouble, and then Greece is one of the nearest countries, so the migrants who are coming from Syria are going to Greece first, so an already very poor country that's in a lot of trouble has suddenly got all these people, and you've probably seen on the news the people in the boats, kind of, you know, coming across the Mediterranean, yeah. And so in Greece, people are very political. You go there and everyone's sitting around the tables and talking and everyone's got ideas. There, they're not like, we'll let the politicians sort this out. Everyone's like, okay, the politicians got us in this mess. It's going to be down to us to sort this out. And that's the key. Greece is like kind of the place that invented democracy, which is the whole idea of being able to vote. And the thing about the word democracy is demos in the word democracy means people. So the idea was it was the people who sorted things out rather than politicians. And that's more what I think we need in this country now. I think we've sort of got to a point, people in my generation anyway, they've gone, yeah, the Prime Minister can sort these things out. And sort of like now there's a whole new group of people going, no, we've all got ideas. I really believe that everyone's got one little idea, however tiny it is, that might be a thing that would make the world a better place. And at the moment, if one of you had a brilliant idea, if one of you literally came up with the idea now for how you could solve the refugee crisis, how would you get that idea to the government? And we should have a system where you could do that. That would be really sensible. And things like the internet would help us do that. And when you know people form political parties, new political parties, that would help with that. But that's the key thing, is making sure that every brilliant idea that anyone has gets to the people who can make it happen.
Which book is your favourite that you've written?
Favourite? Well, the one that I wrote when I was 13 was kind of the most useful one, I guess, because that was the one that taught me that I could write and kind of, it was fun.
Do you have, like, any new books?
Well, the new book that I'm writing now, thank you for asking. I'd like to think that one of my publishers took you to one side and went, ask about the new book. So thanks. The new book is about politics. It's about how we should all write our own, do you know what a manifesto is? Yeah, it's like the sort of the little book that a party writes saying this is what we do if we were in Parliament. And the thing is that whenever I go and do big talks, I ask everyone who voted in the last election, and loads of people put their hands up. And then I go, who read the manifesto of the party they voted for in the last election? And no one puts their hand up, including me. Because most people just know what party they're going to vote for. You're like, yeah, I like David Cameron, or yeah, I like Jeremy Corbyn, or I'm going to vote for the Green Party because I believe in the environment. No one actually reads what the parties say they're going to do. And then when the parties get in, sometimes people are a bit surprised and like, oh, I didn't think you were going to cut benefits. And it's like, well, it was all there in the book. So the idea is we all get to write our own manifestos, which is a fun thing to do. I had so much fun. That's what my new book is. It's basically going, what would I do if I ruled the world? And I bet you've all thought that at some point. Like, what would I do? I bet you've got a list of things that you would do. Yeah. Most of mine revolved around making Benedict Cumberbatch be my boyfriend, but that was kind of, that was just personal. But yeah, writing how you would save the world. And that's a fun thing to do. If you get any time, you know, at some point, and write a list of all the ways that you would change the world, and you want to send them to me, then I've got a big website and we're sharing all the best ideas, because the idea is we want to get all the best ideas and share them with people. You know, I've got like people in Parliament who follow me on Twitter and stuff. So when I post these things, people are going to read your ideas. So if any of you want to write your manifesto, it can only be short, just 1 or 2 ideas, really short, where you think you've got a great idea, send them to me afterwards and I can share them with the world. That's the idea.
If you weren't a writer, what would your job be?
I know what my job would be because it was the only job that was available in the town that I come from, Wolverhampton. I would have worked in the supermarket behind the cheese counter and I would have sold people cheese. Yeah. Yeah, fish counter, yeah. And in some ways I regret that I didn't do it because you would get a really big discount on cheese. Like I would have got a lot of very cheap cheese and I would have been able to make even more cheese lollipops and cheese on cheese sandwiches. But
do you agree with Malala? And like, if you were like, if for example, if Malala was back in the days when you were young, would you have agreed with her?
yes, I love, don't you think Malala's incredible? I imagine you've all been learning about her and like you must have just been like, oh, what an incredible story. To be that young, to have gone through something so awful. You know, she was shot, she was attacked, they tried to kill her. And instead of just doing what I would have done, which is just going, well, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in bed, bring me chocolates and feel sorry for me. She was like, no, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to another girl. I'm going to fight. And it's such a brave thing to do. Like, kind of, that's where you realise, you know, to have that kind of courage, you know, and how strong a girl can be. You know, again, we don't think of girls as being courageous or being leaders often. But, you know, she's such a, yeah, I know. That's why I know you're a natural feminist. You're like, of course they are. But there's a lot of people who don't believe that. And, you know, particularly where she comes from, a lot of people don't believe that. And that's what she's fighting for, to just spread this idea. Because ideas are like germs. You know, they're like sneezes, but good sneezes. When you've got a great idea and you sneeze the idea of feminism out onto people and that germ spreads, and that's what politics are, that's what they're coming up with ideas is. Yeah, sneeze the idea out and then people catch it, yeah. And she's spreading such a brilliant, beautiful, sneezy germ of feminism everywhere. Good germs, good Malala. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for coming to talk to me today. We've managed to talk about ice cream, we've talked about literature, we've talked about how we'll change the world. And there's just one thing I need to check before I go. Have we talked long enough for you to miss your entire maths lesson?
No. 5 minutes.
Then let's give it another 5 minutes. Yeah. We'll say goodbye to them and we'll keep on chatting. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. You want to squeeze in?
Yeah. Squeeze in.